it was a constant battle. Alexander was not an easy child growing up.
He was diagnosed with ADHD, and it was okay when he was little, but when he started to get bigger, then it started to become a problem. And I was getting a little bit scared for myself, if I am totally honest.
Life at home before Hyde was a lot of arguments, a lot of disappointments. Both Kate and I, Alexander and I, it was disruptive.
It was awful. It was awful. It was absolutely dreadful. And I knew that we had to do something.
For 2, 3, 4 years during the middle school years, we struggled to work out how to handle the situation, how to manage our relationship amongst ourselves, the family dynamics, the relationship we had with Alexander.
I think I'm married to a very A-type man, Wall Street type. It's my way or the highway. And then I had a son that was constantly getting into trouble at school. And what I found was that it was easier to just not tell the truth. So Tony would come home and Alexander would have done something, and it was easier for me not to tell him what had happened during the day. What I was doing was being what they call the harmony queen, which is where you're trying to keep everybody happy, you're trying to keep everything quiet and everything nice, and you do it by not telling the truth. I enabled my son to get away with things because he just knew that he could. He knew he could basically do anything, and I wasn't going to tell on him.
We found the Hyde School through an educational consultant. We looked at other different boarding schools, and the education consultant that we'd engaged suggested Hyde. We went up to the school, were interviewed, and very quickly fell in love with the idea and the concept.
Tony came in, and the school was going to fix Alexander. We were going to this school called Hyde, and it was going to fix Alexander, and everything was going to be right.
In our first month at Hyde, when we dropped Alexander off, there was plenty of phone calls from him. He was wondering what he was doing there.
I don't know why you sent me here. You're wasting your money. Really, you should just come and get me and take me home because, I know how to be good now and I can go back to blah, blah, blah.
After 6 weeks, we'd gone up there for a final weekend, and nearly every senior staff member knew who we were, knew our name. And in that weekend's activities, some of the academic staff who'd been involved and some of the staff who were involved in some of the social activities with our son knew more about our son in 6 weeks than teachers who'd been teaching him for several years at various different schools.
And Alexander was absorbing and growing and starting to test the waters. So I think maybe into the second year, we started to see him opening up more in the group. He had some really great friends at Hyde, and he was starting to trust a little bit more. And it was just slowly through every year.
And I think we quickly realised that Alexander may not be all the problem. And so I think through the process of Hyde, we had a pretty good look in the mirror, or certainly I had a pretty good look in the mirror around my relationship with my wife, Kate, and my relationship with my son, Alexander. And sometimes I didn't really like what I was seeing in the mirror.
It taught me to stand up and say, you know what? No, you did do something wrong today, and your father and I are going to discuss it with you. So he learnt pretty quickly. He said, you can't pull the wool over mum's eyes anymore. It doesn't work. And by me standing up to Tony and standing up to Alexander, the dynamic changed.
So since leaving Hyde, Alexander is just finished his first year at college up in Burlington, Vermont. He's a different child from where he was 4 or 5 years ago. He's happy, he's motivated, he's doing very well at college. From a kid who we'd have a very brief conversation, maybe once a week if we were lucky. We talk 3 to 4 times a week. He's just in a great place. Rarely do we argue as a family or as individuals. And he's a joy to be around.
We're definitely seeing the benefits now in college because he has a passion. He's found something that he loves doing. He's vocal, and he's not scared to speak up. One of the courses that he was doing, I know he'd done in Hyde, and they really pushed them to open up, whereas a lot of kids, they're not encouraged to do that, to speak their feelings, to say exactly how they feel. But he was very used to doing that, so that now comes easy for him, and he finds that a lot of his friends have difficulty with that, and he doesn't. He can have great conversations with anybody about anything, and I love that, and Hyde gave him that, definitely.